Okay, so what we're looking to do here is to give you some really good mobilizing drills for the shoulder joints, mainly trying to loosen up the pec and then into the lats and anteriors and all these muscles that are surrounding our shoulder. So we've just attached a very simple big loop band around one of the poles on the beach. What Mackie's looking to do in this first one is to stretch her lats. So you want the band slightly higher than where your shoulder is. We've used quite a thick elastic band here to try and create some tension on Lynn's shoulder. What she's going to do is really hang her hips back. Okay, so she's getting a nice flat fully extended back. She's trying to get length through her shoulder joint, and the whole idea is that we start to get a really good stretch. Alright, so she's trying to hang and suspend off this band. That's why we're using a resistance band and not something that's solid. And then once she can feel that stretch, she can almost rotate through the shoulder and through this arm to try and get more activation through the lat. So she's looking to, we call it hitchhiking, so she's going to hitchhike her thumb up and she's going to rotate it in to try and get that stretch and activation through all these muscles around her shoulder, through the back, sometimes even as low down towards her hip flexor and her obliques. So it's a really good stretch, 10 to 15 rotations, nice and gentle, in her comfortable range of motion, and really stretching out through the whole body, and then obviously changing over to the other side. Okay, so the next stretch we're trying to do is to look at really trying to mobilize through the pec and through the anterior shoulder. So Mackie's got the same band on her. She's going to take a step back and she's going to start to rotate around. So like we did with the lats, she's trying to create really big resistance, but now through the anterior part of her shoulder. So she's going to take a few steps forward, really hang that arm back, and the whole idea is not to pull on the band. You want to let the band open you up. So once she's got that position, she can come slightly forward. I normally encourage a split stance, so one leg in front of the other, and then she's really trying to open herself backwards. Same idea, once she feels that stretch, it can be from elbow all the way down through the front to the pec. She wants to really open up nicely, open the chest, and then she's going to do her same hitchhiking action. Thumb up, thumb down, gently creating a nice, almost like a circular twist, like you would wring out a towel. So she wants to really wring out through that area. She's going to flush this area full of blood and then gently put a stretch on all those muscles to try and loosen them up and activate them. Next up, we're going to look at trying to stretch out and mobilize your hip joints, especially psoas and quad, everything anterior part of your hip. So we want to attach the band around a really sturdy pole, but we want it sort of roughly between knee height up towards like mid quad, but obviously you can change that according to you. So we've attached it on. What Lynn's going to do is she's going to put the band over the leg that she wants to stretch. Alright, so adjust the band height if you need to. The band needs to sit really high up, almost directly under your glute fold or right up tight in your groin. Okay, so this is the leg she's going to stretch. So she's going to put the opposite leg forward into a lunge stance. So once again, this has got lots of flexibility into it. So she needs to move as far forward as is comfortable for her to get a stretch. So there's two ways to do this. I'm going to get Lynn to lift her back knee off the floor. So she's suspended. Take that front foot really far forward. And what we now want to do is we want to create a stretch through this whole area, but also lateral flexion. So Lynn's going to put her hand above her head. What she's looking to do is get long from the hip, through the rib cage, through the shoulder, and then up and over her head. So she's looking to get long to the sky and to flex over the side. And that's really going to work into this joint. And relax. Okay, so now we're going to look at trying to loosen up your hamstrings. We want to really get into the belly of the muscle in your hammy, as well as into your calf. And then we'll show you some ITB and even some medial stretches. This is all around loosening up your lower limbs and obviously still activating through your hips. So Mackie's going to put the band around her back and around her foot. Putting it around your back just helps you with a little bit of control. It's one less thing to worry about. It's going to go around pretty much the ball of her foot, and then she's going to lie back on the band, both arms through, just keeping it tucked behind her shoulder. Alright, so thankfully Mackie's quite aware of activating her core, so she's still focused on sucking in her belly button and just gently pressing that lower back into the floor to make sure her core's working and she's not putting any stress on her back. We've got the band around the ball of her foot. We're going to start this one with slight flexion at the knee so that she can focus more on getting into the belly of the hamstring and not too much into sort of behind the knee and the calf. So what she's doing is she's using the band, using her arms just to pull that foot towards her head, get a really good stretch on the hammy. Hold it for 2 to 3 counts and then release it. Alright, get that full range of motion through the hip, gently bring it back up, use the core and stretch through that belly of the hammy. 2 to 3 counts and then release. And normally we would say 10 to 15 reps like that. Okay, what she can do secondly is keep that knee a little bit straighter and put a bit more stretch on the calf. So you can use the band to pull the foot slightly down, feel that stretch through the calf, perhaps a bit behind the back of the knee, hold it for 2 to 3 counts and release it. You can also just do ankle pumps. So she's doing flexion and extension or dorsiflexion at the ankle, and once again she can hold that stretch for 2 to 3 counts and then release it, getting more calf stretch and slightly less on the hamstring. So the third stretch we're going to do in this lying on her back phase is lateral and medial, and what we're looking to do is to keep a good stretch on the leg, but to get more into her lateral structures, so ITB, even a bit of glutes, TFL, and then on the opposite side we'll get more into her groin and her adductors. So we're going to go over first. So Mackie's going to focus on lateral. What she's going to do is she's going to allow that leg to go all the way over. She's going to use her arms to pull on the band. She's going to keep the shoulder down on the floor, and if she wants to, she can open her hand over. So bring out the left hand. So what that's encouraging is more stretch through the pec, more stretch through the torso, and then obviously really stretching through the bum and the leg. Again, within reason, don't overdo it. Use the band to sort of your perception of what feels right. Then hands back on, bring the band back over, and bring the leg over. She's going to try to stretch out to get a really good anterior medial stretch on the adductors and the groin, and then obviously trying to keep that opposite hip down and then back up and over. So Mackie, on this one I want you to use your arms more, so hold the band in just your right hand, left hand on the floor, and then really use that to roll. And then change sides, change hands, and open out. Hold the other hip down and back over. So the final drill in this mat work phase is to just try and get your glutes and your hammies and your core all firing up a little bit together now that we've tried to mobilize that area. So that same big loop band that you've got, just pop it around your knees and either just shimmy a knot. It doesn't have to be terribly tight. You're just trying to create a little bit of resistance so you've got something to activate against. Cool. Alright, so Lynn's going to lie flat on her back. So your feet are relatively close to your bum, but enough that you've got enough space to actually get your hips moving. So we don't want them up against your bum cheeks, we want them just a little bit spaced, so about 1.5 feet from your bum. Okay, hands nice and relaxed on the floor. Shoulders open, chest open, belly button is sucked in and activated, lower back just gently pressing into the floor. Okay, so the band is creating a little bit of tension. It's trying to pull Lynn's knees in closer. So what she's actively trying to do is push just gently outwards against that band, which is going to cause external rotation and get her glutes to fire up. So she's got a gentle pressure here on the band. She's pressing her whole foot into the floor, so both feet are pressing into the floor. And you can keep a little bit of focus on those heels pressing down, which will give you more posterior chain activation. So calves and hammies and glutes will work. Okay, so Mackie's going to do about 10 hip lifts. So she's gently squeezing through the glutes, pressing through the heels, getting those hips nice and high, sucking in the belly button. When she rolls down, she's going to unravel from her neck, one vertebra at a time, rounding her back on the way until her sort of coccyx glutes touch last. Alright, activate core, squeeze glutes, lift those hips, gentle tension outwards against the band, feel the hammies, feel the glutes, and then roll down, curling through that whole spine. Okay, so what she's also focusing on as she's lifting up is keeping her chest open, so the shoulders are open, but she's also pressing through her palms and her arms to make sure that she's activating through her upper body as well. We roughly do about 10 reps of that, up and down. On the 10th one, she's going to hold those hips up, everything opening out nicely, keep the hips lifted, and she's just going to squeeze and close gently across that band, nice and slowly, all the while activating core, keeping chest open, squeezing glutes, working those legs to get the hammies and that whole posterior chain firing. And then a roll down. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also make sure you click on the bell so that you can get notifications whenever we upload more videos.